Power doesn't announce itself with volume. It chooses a body, a posture, a rhythm. Picture two people entering the same room with the same objective: control. One moves like a shadow, the other moves like a signal. One gathers influence by vanishing, the other gathers influence by flooding the space with presence. Both are Machiavellian, both are dangerous, but they hunt differently. The introvert Machiavellian doesn't compete for attention. They let others fight for the spotlight, then study the winners and memorize the wounds. They speak rarely, but when they do, it lands like a verdict. They build power the way a city builds walls, slowly, quietly, with planning that looks like patience to the untrained eye. They don't need to be liked. They need to be necessary. They create dependency, then step back and watch people orbit them without realizing they're trapped. The extrovert Machiavellian is the opposite kind of weapon. They don't hide. They reshape the room with charisma, humor, outrage, warmth, whatever gets traction. They collect alliances like coins and spend them like fire. They make people feel chosen, seen, protected. And while you're enjoying the glow, they're mapping your desires, your insecurities, your price. They don't conquer through silence. They conquer through momentum. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people lose because they try to imitate the wrong predator. The quiet one forces themselves to perform. The loud one forces themselves to brood. Both become transparent, weak, predictable. So which are you? The shadow that controls by absence, or the flame that controls by presence? And more importantly, what happens when the two paths collide? Let's begin. The first distinction is not personality, it is appetite. An introvert Machiavellian craves control over variables. An extrovert Machiavellian craves control over people. Both can succeed, both can fail. But they fail for opposite reasons, and they rise through opposite disciplines. The introvert Machiavellian understands a truth most loud strategists ignore. Attention is a tax. The more you are seen, the more you are judged. The more you are judged, the more you are cornered into consistency. Consistency becomes a cage, so the introvert chooses scarcity. They become hard to read on purpose. They let others project stories onto them because projection is leverage. When people don't know what you want, they offer things to find out. When they don't know what you fear, they can't aim at it. This is not shyness. This is defensive architecture. Their power grows in 3 layers. First, they become the quiet resolver. They don't dominate the room. They dominate outcomes. They fix what others break. They see what others miss. They become the person teams call when chaos appears. Not because they are charming, but because they are reliable under pressure. Reliability creates dependency. Dependency creates obedience without orders. Second, they practice strategic absence. They do not attend every fight. They do not argue every point. They do not compete for every throne. They let rivals exhaust themselves performing. Meanwhile, they build private channels, one-on-one conversations, discreet favors, information exchanged like currency. By the time the crowd realizes influence has shifted, it is already settled. Third, they weaponize silence. Silence forces others to fill space. People confess when you don't interrupt them. People reveal priorities when you don't soothe them. In negotiations, the introvert Machiavellian lets discomfort do the work. They are patient enough to let the other person bargain against themselves. But there is a trap in this path. The introvert Machiavellian can become a ghost in their own kingdom. If no one feels your presence, they will not fear losing you. If you are only useful, you become replaceable. The world doesn't reward hidden genius. It rewards perceived power, and perception must be managed. The extrovert Machiavellian is built for perception. They understand a different truth. Crowds don't follow logic. They follow emotion. So they learn to generate emotion at will: warmth, urgency, outrage, hope, admiration. They do not merely speak. They stage. Every interaction becomes a performance designed to place them at the center of meaning. They make themselves the interpreter of the room. What matters? What's dangerous? Who's admirable? Who's suspicious? Their power also grows in 3 layers. First, they become the connector. They introduce people, they broker access, they spread opportunities, and everyone who benefits becomes a quiet soldier. The extrovert Machiavellian doesn't need to own resources. They position themselves as the gate. Second, they build public legitimacy. They are seen. They are associated with winners. They curate narrative. They speak with confidence, even when uncertain, because certainty is contagious. This path creates rapid influence because people mistake visibility for authority. Third, they weaponize intimacy. They make you feel chosen. They remember details. They mirror your values. They create a bond that feels personal. Then they use it to steer your decisions. The manipulation is clean because it feels like friendship. But here is their trap. The extrovert Machiavellian can become dependent on applause. When the room stops reacting, they escalate. They overpromise. They expose too much. They become predictable because their fuel is feedback. And predictability is a handle. So which one are you? If you disappear and still control outcomes, you are the introvert path. If you enter and the room rearranges itself around you, you are the extrovert path. The question is not which is better. The question is which discipline you can sustain without betraying your nature, because the moment you imitate the wrong predator, you become a caricature, and the world devours caricatures first. The second law is simple. The battlefield chooses the weapon. Most people think the introvert Machiavellian is better in the background, and the extrovert Machiavellian is better with people. That's lazy thinking. The real difference is where each can enforce reality. Introvert power is strongest in systems. Extrovert power is strongest in crowds. If you want to control a system, you don't need applause. You need positioning. You need to own the levers, information flow, timing, standards, access, and process. This is the introvert Machiavellian's natural habitat because systems reward those who can think in chains. Cause, effect, consequence. If you can predict the second and third move, you can quietly decide outcomes while louder people argue over optics. That is how introvert Machiavellians win without winning. They become the person who understands how things actually work, not the public story, the mechanism underneath. They learn who signs off, who delays, who panics, who holds grudges. They map dependencies the way a general maps supply lines. Then, they make themselves the calm node everyone routes through. When you control routing, you control fate. But the system has a weakness. It is invisible until it breaks. So the introvert Machiavellian must learn a controlled form of visibility, just enough to be credited, not enough to be targeted. They reveal competence in selective moments, then disappear again, like a blade that only flashes when it's already cutting. The extrovert Machiavellian is different. They don't control routing, they control meaning. Crowds don't obey rules, crowds obey stories. And the extrovert Machiavellian knows that whoever names the moment owns the moment. They understand that people aren't moved by facts. They're moved by the feeling that facts create. So they become a translator of events. This is a crisis. This is an opportunity. This person is a threat. This person is a hero. Once the room accepts your frame, your enemies are fighting inside your architecture. That is why extrovert Machiavellians rise fast in politics, sales, leadership, social circles, online influence, any arena where perception is the currency. They don't need to hold the keys. They convince others that they should hold the keys. And once others hand them power voluntarily, it feels like loyalty instead of surrender. But the crowd has a weakness too. It turns. The same emotional volatility you can ride can also drown you. If your legitimacy comes from public energy, then your power is rented, not owned, and rent always goes up. So here is the strategic question you must ask before you choose your tactics. Are you operating in a world where outcomes are decided by mechanism or by mood? In mechanism-based arenas, bureaucracy, corporate structures, technical teams, institutional hierarchies, the introvert Machiavellian dominates by mastering details and controlling bottlenecks. In mood-based arenas, public leadership, social influence, negotiation in open rooms, any space where people watch each other for cues. The extrovert Machiavellian dominates by controlling the emotional climate. Now, the dangerous part. Most people try to apply the wrong tool to the wrong arena. The introvert tries to win crowds with logic and wonders why they're ignored. The extrovert tries to bulldoze systems with charisma and wonders why nothing changes behind closed doors. Power is not who you are. Power is what environment lets you enforce. The moment you understand that, you stop asking, how do I become more extroverted? Or how do I become more mysterious? You start asking the only question that matters. Where can my nature become a weapon instead of a liability? The third law, secrecy is not silence. Secrecy is selective revelation. Both Machiavellian types misunderstand this at first. The introvert thinks power is protected by saying nothing. The extrovert thinks power is protected by saying everything first, louder, and with confidence. Both are wrong. Pure silence makes you irrelevant. Constant broadcasting makes you easy to predict. The real art is controlled leakage, showing the right fragment to the right person at the right time, so you shape what they believe without handing them the full map. The introvert Machiavellian's advantage is that people already assume there is more beneath the surface. That assumption is a loaded gun, but if you never fire it, it becomes theater, not threat. So the introvert must learn to puncture the room occasionally with a precise disclosure. One detail that proves awareness, one sentence that implies reach, one calm correction that shows you've been watching longer than anyone realized. Not an explanation, a signal. Because in human systems, uncertainty produces compliance. When people can't locate the edge of your influence, they avoid crossing it. They play safer, they offer concessions preemptively. The introvert's mistake is hoarding everything: information, opinions, intentions, until no one can tell the difference between discipline and emptiness. Your silence must feel intentional, not absent. The extrovert Machiavellian has the inverse danger. They confuse intimacy with control. They share stories, vulnerabilities, behind-the-scenes truths because it creates closeness, and closeness creates access. But every personal detail you release becomes a handle. Every confession becomes a future accusation in someone else's mouth. The extrovert's mistake is feeding the room too much of themselves in exchange for immediate warmth. The remedy is the same. Curate your disclosures like a weapon inventory. You don't share to be understood. You share to be positioned. There are 3 tiers of revelation, and both paths must master them. Tier 1 is harmless humanity. Small details that make you approachable but give away nothing strategic. The extrovert uses this naturally. The introvert must practice it deliberately. If you are too cold, people unite against you out of mutual discomfort. Harmless humanity lowers defenses, so your real influence can move unseen. Tier 2 is competence proof, a controlled demonstration that you are capable, connected, or informed. The introvert thrives here, but must avoid turning it into a lecture. The extrovert must avoid turning it into a performance. The goal is not admiration. The goal is inevitability, the sense that you are the kind of person outcomes bend toward. Tier 3 is directional vulnerability. This is the most dangerous tier and the most powerful. It is not real weakness. It is curated weakness that makes others invest in you, protect you, or reveal themselves to you. A hint of doubt that invites reassurance. A mild admission that invites confession. A narrow failure that makes you seem honest while keeping your true liabilities hidden. Used correctly, this turns observers into participants. Participants become loyal because they feel involved. Now, understand what separates the 2 Machiavellian styles here. The introvert Machiavellian reveals to create mystery and dependence. The extrovert Machiavellian reveals to create intimacy and momentum. Both must learn the same rule. Never reveal in a way that makes you explainable. Once someone can summarize you, they can package you. Once they can package you, they can replace you. So you must become legible enough to be trusted, but never so legible you become manageable. That balance between visibility and opacity is where real power lives. The 4th law, your temperament is not your destiny. Your temperament is your cover. Most people treat introversion and extroversion like identity, like a fixed sentence handed down at birth. The Machiavellian treats it like camouflage, not to hide from danger, but to decide what danger sees. Because power is not just what you can do, power is what others think you will do. The introvert Machiavellian is assumed to be harmless, passive, not political. That assumption is a gift. It lets you move through rooms without triggering defensive reflexes. People speak freely around you. They underestimate your memory. They confuse your restraint for lack of ambition. And while they're performing, you're collecting patterns. But here is the fatal mistake. The introvert often believes the cover is the self. They cling to invisibility until it becomes a prison. They refuse the spotlight even when the spotlight would seal their authority. They let louder people take credit because confrontation feels messy. Then, one day, they realize they built a kingdom and handed the flag to someone else. The discipline is this: you do not avoid visibility, you ration it. The introvert Machiavellian must practice controlled emergence, the ability to step forward at decisive moments and claim the outcome without emotion, without apology, without excess. Like a judge entering the room after the arguments are done. You don't need to dominate every scene. You need to dominate the final scene. The room must associate closure with you. Now the extrovert Machiavellian. They are assumed to be open, warm, authentic, just confident. That assumption is also a gift. It makes people lower their guard. It makes strangers feel like allies. It makes access appear effortless. And because humans equate familiarity with safety, the extrovert can cross boundaries without sounding like an intruder. But the extrovert's fatal mistake is believing their cover is control. They mistake social proof for loyalty. They mistake laughter for commitment. They become addicted to visibility and forget that visibility is exposure. The moment you are always available, you are always interruptible. The moment you are always speaking, you are always quotable. Your own voice becomes evidence. The discipline is this: you do not chase attention, you conduct it. The extrovert Machiavellian must practice strategic withdrawal brief, deliberate absences that create scarcity and restore gravity. You teach the room that access to you is earned, not assumed. When you return with purpose, a decision, an announcement, a verdict, a move, not more noise. Here is the deeper point. Both types must learn to borrow the other's strength without betraying their nature. The introvert must learn one extrovert skill: public framing, not charm framing. The ability to state what just happened, what it means, and what should happen next. The person who frames reality becomes the invisible author of everyone else's choices. The extrovert must learn one introvert skill: private leverage, not secrecy leverage. The ability to build quiet dependencies, document commitments, map incentives, and control channels that remain stable when the crowd turns volatile. Because the real predator is not the introvert or the extrovert. The real predator is the hybrid who can switch masks without hesitation. Quiet when quiet is power. Loud when loud is power. Absent when absence is power. Present when presence is power. Temperament is your default. Strategy is your evolution. The fifth law: the one who controls tempo controls the outcome. Power is rarely won by strength. It is won by timing, by forcing others to move too fast or too slow, while you move at the only speed that matters: deliberate. The introvert Machiavellian's tempo is slow pressure. They do not rush to respond. They let messages sit. They let proposals age. They let impatience reveal itself. Because impatience is confession. It shows where someone is weak, what they want, what they fear losing. The introvert understands that most people negotiate with their nerves. If you can stay calm while the other person scrambles for resolution, you don't need to threaten them. Their anxiety will do the bargaining for you. This is how introvert Machiavellians win conflicts without open conflict. They delay decisions until alternatives collapse. They ask for one more detail until the other side over-explains. They schedule meetings when others are tired. They wait until a rival makes a public claim, then present the quiet evidence that contradicts it. They let time sharpen their blade, but slow tempo has a weakness. If you slow everything down, you can miss the moment when the room is ready to be conquered. There are windows, brief, violent openings, when authority can be seized cleanly. The introvert's danger is confusing patience with avoidance. Sometimes, the most Machiavellian act is not to wait. It is to strike while everyone else is still debating whether a strike is appropriate. The extrovert Machiavellian's tempo is fast momentum. They don't wait for the room to decide. They decide out loud, then dare the room to correct them. They create urgency, because urgency prevents analysis. A crowd under urgency doesn't audit motives. It looks for a leader. The extrovert supplies the voice that feels like direction, and people follow because following is easier than thinking under pressure. This is how extrovert Machiavellians win rooms. They push decisions into motion before resistance organizes. They flood the conversation with options until the only reasonable one is theirs. They stack small commitments, quick yeses, until the final yes feels inevitable. They move so fast that rivals look hesitant, and hesitation reads as weakness. They turn speed into authority, but fast tempo has a weakness too. If you live on momentum, you can be baited into mistakes. A patient opponent will let you overspend your credibility. They will watch you promise too much, reveal too much, commit too early. Speed becomes a trap when it becomes predictable. So both types must learn the same mastery, tempo switching. The introvert Machiavellian must learn to accelerate at the moment of decision. You don't need to be loud. You need to be sudden. When the evidence is in your favor, when the room is uncertain, when others are tired, move quickly and close the door behind you. A slow player who becomes fast for 5 minutes can steal what a fast player built for 5 months. The extrovert Machiavellian must learn to decelerate when emotions peak. When the room is hot, do not add heat. Add calm. Calm feels like command. It makes you look like the only adult in a room of reactions. The person who can slow the room down controls the frame again. Here is the test to know which path you default to. When pressured, do you go silent and calculating, or do you go verbal and forceful? Neither is superior. Both are exploitable. What makes you dangerous is not your default. What makes you dangerous is your ability to change tempo while others remain trapped inside their own nature. The sixth law: power is not held by truth, it is held by narrative. Facts matter in courtrooms and laboratories. In human hierarchies, facts are raw material. Narrative is the weapon. The introvert Machiavellian often believes their work will speak for itself. They assume results create recognition. They assume competence creates authority. That is the naive religion of the quiet, and it is why the quiet are so often used, then erased. Because what speaks for itself is usually spoken by someone else. The extrovert Machiavellian knows this instinctively. They shape the story before anyone else can. They name the effort, define the stakes, identify the heroes and villains, and assign moral weight. Once a room accepts the story, it stops asking for proof. Proof becomes decoration. The narrative becomes reality. But there's a paradox. The extrovert's strength becomes their liability. If your power depends on storytelling, you must keep telling. You must keep feeding the room meaning. And every story creates records, expectations, contradictions. Eventually, someone studies the pattern and realizes you are not describing reality, you are manufacturing it. When that realization spreads, the crowd doesn't debate you, it discards you. The introvert's advantage is that they can craft narrative without appearing to craft narrative. They can plant it, they do it through small, surgical phrases spoken in private. I'm not sure this is stable. He's brilliant, but unpredictable. She means well, but she's under a lot of pressure. They don't accuse, they suggest, and suggestions are more infectious than statements because people believe they discovered them. The introvert Machiavellian becomes an author without a byline. They shape perception through selective framing, then let others repeat it as their own insight. And when your rivals repeat your framing, you don't just win the argument, you win the language the argument is fought in. The extrovert Machiavellian does narrative in public. They turn meetings into stages. They summarize conversations in a way that makes their version feel official. They speak with confidence when others hedge, and the room treats confidence as clarity. They give people a simple storyline: who's competent, what's urgent, what's next. In a complex environment, the person who simplifies becomes the leader. Now, the deeper Machiavellian principle. There are two narratives. You must control your narrative and everyone else's. Your narrative must be consistent and useful. Useful to whom? To the people above you, beside you, and beneath you. To those above, you are stability. To those beside, you are alliance or risk. To those beneath, you are direction and protection. The introvert Machiavellian often forgets the last part. They are so focused on being unexposed that they become unreadable. Unreadable leaders don't attract followers. They attract suspicion. So, the introvert must learn to broadcast one clear trait: reliability, not warmth. Reliability. The room must feel that when you are present, chaos lowers. The extrovert Machiavellian often forgets the first part. They are so focused on being liked that they become flexible, and flexible becomes untrustworthy. So, the extrovert must learn to broadcast one clear trait: standards, not friendliness. Standards. The room must feel that you are not moved by every emotion that passes through it. Now, controlling everyone else's narrative is where both become lethal. You do not destroy enemies head-on. You define them. You don't call them evil. That creates resistance. You call them unreliable, self-interested, unstable, difficult. Traits that make people back away without feeling cruel. And you don't elevate allies by praising them. You elevate them by associating them with competence, safety, and inevitability. This is the quiet truth. In social reality, perception is the first fact. Everything else is negotiation. The seventh law. The final form of Machiavellian power is succession control. Not who you are today, who replaces you tomorrow, who carries your story when you're not in the room, who moves on your behalf without being told. Most people chase influence like a drug. Get the seat, get the title, get the crowd. That's not power, that's exposure. Real power is when your absence doesn't weaken your position, it strengthens it. The introvert Machiavellian is naturally built for this, because their instinct is infrastructure. They don't want to be the actor, they want to be the script. They create systems that require them, processes only they understand, templates that become the standard, relationships that root through them by habit. Then they take it one step further. They create a second self, not a clone, a proxy, someone beneath them who appears to execute but actually extends their reach. The introvert doesn't dominate publicly, they dominate structurally. When the proxy speaks, the system hears you. But here's the introvert's danger. They often build power that depends on secrecy. When everything relies on what only you know, succession becomes impossible. Your empire becomes fragile because it dies with your attention, and attention is finite. Eventually you burn out, or you leave, or you get pushed out, and the structure collapses, taking your legacy with it. So the introvert Machiavellian must learn the cruel discipline of controlled documentation, teaching just enough to create continuity while keeping the deepest leverage private. You don't want to be the only one who can do the work. You want to be the only one who can redesign the work. The extrovert Machiavellian approaches succession differently. They are a banner. Their power is personal gravity, voice, energy, presence. That kind of power dies fast when the person leaves, unless they convert charisma into institutions. This is the extrovert's true test. Can you build something that outlives your performance? They do it by turning relationships into networks, by creating rituals people repeat, by building a way we do things that carries their style after they're gone. They train lieutenants who speak their language. They grant public legitimacy to successors early, so the crowd learns to see them as extensions, not replacements. But here is the extrovert's danger. They often fear being eclipsed, so they sabotage potential successors, keeping everyone dependent on their presence. That feels safe in the short term. In the long term, it's suicide. The moment you are the only engine, every failure becomes your fault, every absence becomes a crisis, and every rival can attack the system by attacking your stamina. Succession control solves this. It means you can step back without losing authority. It means you can delegate without dissolving. It means you can disappear without being forgotten. And this is where both Machiavellian paths converge into one principle. Your greatest weapon is not manipulation. It is cultivation. You cultivate the image that survives you. You cultivate the people who act for you. You cultivate the structure that makes you feel inevitable. So which are you? If you build power by becoming the hidden hinge of the system, you are the introvert Machiavellian. If you build power by becoming the living symbol the system rallies around, you are the extrovert Machiavellian. But if you want the highest tier, if you want power that does not beg for attention or collapse under silence, then you must become something rarer than both. A presence that can vanish and still command. Subscribe and like if you're ready to stop performing power and start engineering it. You don't follow this channel for entertainment. You align with it for initiation.